The alarm bells rang across Outpost Thanagar like the screams of dying metal. Commander Zektar jumped from his chair in the control room, his purple skin turning pale as he stared at the main screen. For 30 years, he had watched this border of space. Nothing ever surprised him anymore. Pirates, smugglers, lost cargo ships, he had seen them all. But this was different. Report? He shouted at his crew. Lieutenant Mirasan, a young officer with nervous hands, looked up from her station. Sir, we have a contact. Unknown vessel just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of our scanning range. Pirates again? Zektar asked, already reaching for his weapons authorization codes. No, sir. Mirasan's voice shook. This is not like anything in our database. The ship is. It's completely unknown. Zektar walked over to her station and looked at the readings. His blood went cold. The energy signature on the screen was unlike anything he had ever seen. The ship appeared as a bright dot on their sensors, but the numbers next to it made no sense. Check the sensors, he ordered. Run a full diagnostic. Already done, sir, 3 times. The readings are correct. The unknown ship sat in space like a predator watching its prey. It was not moving. It was not scanning them. It was just waiting. What does it look like? Zektar asked. The main screen changed to show a visual image of the strange vessel. It was unlike any ship design in the Zephyrian Empire's vast databases. The hull was dark gray, almost black, with sharp angles that seemed to cut through space. Itself, it was smaller than their biggest warships, but somehow looked more dangerous than anything they had ever built. Sir, called out Ensign Kolvek from the communications station. I'm trying to hail them. No response. Keep trying, Zektar ordered, but his mind was racing. In 30 years of service, he had learned to trust his instincts. Right now, every instinct was screaming that this ship was trouble. Big trouble. Sir, look at this. Mirazana's voice was barely a whisper. She pointed at her screen. The ship is scanning us. What do you mean, scanning us? Active sensor sweeps. Very powerful ones. They're mapping our entire defense grid. They know the position of every satellite, every weapon platform, every ship in the system. Zektar felt sweat on his forehead. Despite the cool air in the control room. How is that possible? Our sensors should detect any scanning attempt. Sir, their technology is beyond anything we've seen. The scans are so advanced that our systems barely register them. If I wasn't looking directly at the sensor logs, I would never have noticed. The commander stared at the mysterious ship on the screen. It just floated there, silent and still, but somehow he could feel it watching them, studying them. Learning everything about their defenses? Get me Admiral Vextar. Emergency priority. Within minutes, the holographic image of Admiral Vextar appeared in the command center. The admiral was an old warrior with scars across his face and a reputation for never backing down from a fight. When he saw the readings from Zektar's station, his expression changed. What am I looking at, Commander? The admiral asked. Unknown contact, sir. Appeared 20 minutes ago. No response to our hails. They're scanning our entire defensive network. Admiral Vextar studied the data for several long minutes. His face grew more serious with each passing second. Commander, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Do not make any aggressive moves toward that vessel. Do not power up weapons. Do not even think about shooting at it. Sir? Those energy readings. I've seen reports about ships like this before, scattered intelligence from the outer rim. Ships that appear from nowhere and disappear just as quickly. Ships that make our best technology look like children's toys. Zektar felt his stomach drop. What are your orders, sir? Maintain current positions. Keep trying to communicate. I'm sending everything we have to your location. The hologram flickered and died. Zektar turned back to his crew, all of whom had heard the conversation. Fear was written on every face. You heard the Admiral, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. Maintain current positions. No weapons, no aggressive actions. Hours passed. The unknown ship remained exactly where it had first appeared, as if it was painted on the stars themselves. More and more vessels began arriving at Outpost Thanagar. First came the patrol ships from nearby systems. Then the cruisers. Then the heavy battleships. Admiral Vextar arrived on his flagship, the Iron Fist, a massive dreadnought that had destroyed entire fleets. Behind him came 50 more warships, representing the strongest military force in this sector of the Empire. Surely, Zektar thought, this show of strength would make the unknown vessel respond. It did not. Still no communication? Admiral Vextar asked as he took command of the situation. Nothing, sir. They acknowledge our signals, we know they're receiving them, but they don't respond. And they're still scanning? Constantly. They now have complete maps of every defensive position within 10 light years of here. They know the location of every ship, every weapon, every supply depot. It's like they can see through our hulls. Admiral Vextar looked at the tactical display showing the unknown ship surrounded by dozens of Imperial vessels. By all military logic, they should surrender immediately. One ship against 50 was not a battle, it was suicide, but the ship showed no signs of fear or concern. It simply waited. Admiral, called the communications officer. Priority message from the capital. Emperor Malfin himself is coming. A cold silence fell over the bridge. When the Emperor came personally, it meant the situation was far more serious than anyone had imagined. How long until he arrives? Vextar asked. 6 hours, sir. He's bringing the Eternal Fleet. Zektar had never seen the Eternal Fleet, but every child in the Empire knew the stories. 200 of the most powerful warships ever built, led by the Emperor's personal dreadnought Eternal Dominion. It was a force that could destroy entire star systems. As they waited for the Emperor's arrival, more intelligence reports came in. The unknown ship's technology was beyond anything they had ever encountered. Its hull was made of materials that did not exist in any Imperial database. Its energy systems operated on principles that their best scientists could not understand. Most disturbing of all were the reports from the Outer Rim territories. Ships matching this description had been spotted near several Imperial colonies. They never attacked, they never communicated. They just appeared, observed, and vanished. "Sir," Mirasan called out, "I'm picking up something strange." "What now?" "The unknown ship is receiving transmissions from somewhere very far away. The signals are so weak I can barely detect them, but they're definitely artificial." "Can you decode them?" "No, sir. The encryption is unlike anything we've ever seen, but sir, I think there are more ships out there, a lot more ships." "Admiral." Vextar stared at the tactical display. The single unknown vessel no longer looked like a lost explorer or a rogue pirate ship. It looked like what it probably was, a scout. "The first of many. How many more?" he asked quietly. "I don't know, sir. The signals are coming from multiple directions. Dozens of directions, maybe hundreds." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Everyone was thinking the same thing, but no one wanted to say it out loud. The Empire had always been the strongest force in known space. They had conquered 1,000 worlds and defeated every enemy they had ever faced. But now, for the first time in centuries, they had encountered something that might be stronger than they were. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "the Emperor's fleet has arrived." On the main screen, ships began appearing as they dropped out of hyperspace. One by one, the most powerful vessels in the Empire took positions around the unknown intruder. The Eternal Dominion itself was a sight that inspired awe and terror in equal measure. It was 3 times larger than any other ship, covered in weapons that could turn planets into dust. Emperor Malfin's voice echoed across every ship in the fleet when he opened a communication channel. "This is Emperor Malfin of the Zephyrian Empire. To the unknown vessel, you will identify yourself immediately and explain your presence in Imperial space. You have 1 hour to comply." The unknown ship's response was immediate and unexpected. For the first time since its arrival, it moved. Not to flee or attack, but simply to turn slightly, as if getting a better look at the massive fleet surrounding it. Then came a voice over the communication channel. It spoke in perfect Zephyrian, with an accent that no one could identify. "This is Captain Sarah Chun of the United Earth ship Retribution. We greet the Zephyrian Empire. The voice was calm, polite, and somehow completely terrifying. It belonged to a species that barely existed in imperial records as a primitive race from the galaxy's edge. But there was nothing primitive about the ship that had just introduced itself. And there was something in the captain's voice that suggested the Empire was about to learn just how wrong their assumptions had been. Emperor Malthus stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion and stared at the small ship that had just identified itself as human. His golden robes rustled as he moved closer to the main viewing screen. For 500 years, the Zephyrian Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy. No one challenged them? No one dared? Humans? He said, his voice filled with disbelief. Did that creature just say humans? General Thakmer, the Emperor's chief military advisor, stepped forward. He was a massive warrior with battle scars covering his arms and face. My lord, our records show humans as a primitive species from the Outer Rim. They barely achieved spaceflight 50 years ago. Their technology is thousands of years behind. Ours. Then explain that ship, the Emperor said, pointing at the dark vessel on the screen. Thakmer had no answer. None of them did. Bring me everything we know about these humans, the Emperor ordered. Every report, every intelligence file, every rumor from the border worlds. Within minutes, a team of analysts rushed onto the bridge carrying data tablets and projection devices. They set up a holographic display showing what little information the Empire had gathered about humanity. Sir, said Chief Analyst Morduk, a thin creature with large eyes that helped him read data quickly, our information is very limited. Humans are from a planet called Earth in the Sol system. They are carbon-based life forms, similar to many species we have encountered. They have been expanding slowly into nearby star systems for the past 50 years. How many ships do they have? General Thakmer asked. According to our last reports, maybe a few hundred small vessels. Nothing larger than a light cruiser. Their weapons are basic plasma cannons and chemical missiles. Their ships are slow and poorly armored. Emperor Malthus looked from the data display to the unknown ship floating in space. That does not match what we are seeing. No, sir, it does not, Morduk admitted. Either our intelligence is completely wrong, or this ship represents a massive technological leap for the human species. Or, said Dr. Veltara, the Empire's head of xenobiology, this is not actually a human ship at all. Perhaps another species is using human identification to confuse us. The Emperor considered this possibility. It made more sense than believing that a primitive species had somehow built a vessel that made his sensors scream warnings he had never heard before. Hail the ship again, he ordered. I want to speak to this Captain Chun directly. The communications officer worked at his station for several minutes before shaking his head. Sir, they are not responding to our hails. They responded before. Yes, sir, but now they seem to be ignoring us. On the tactical display, the human ship continued to sit motionless in space. It had not moved since delivering its greeting. It showed no signs of fear despite being surrounded by the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. Admiral Vextar, the Emperor called out over the fleet communication system. What are your sensors telling you about that vessel? Vextar's voice came back immediately. My lord, the readings are impossible. The ship's energy output is beyond our measurement capabilities. Its hull is made of materials we cannot identify. And sir, that it is still scanning us. Still scanning? Yes, my lord. Active sensor sweeps that penetrate deeper into our ships than should be possible. They know the layout of every vessel in this fleet. They know our weapons, our defenses, our crew numbers. They probably know what we had for breakfast. The Emperor felt a chill run down his spine. In 5 centuries of rule, he had never encountered a situation where the enemy knew more about his forces than he did. Sir, called out the sensor operator on the Eternal Dominion, I am detecting something else. What? More ships. Far away. But closing on our position. General Thakmer rushed to the sensor station. How many? I cannot tell, sir. They are still too far away for accurate counts. But the energy signatures match the vessel we are already tracking. More human ships? It appears so, sir. The Emperor looked at the tactical display showing his massive fleet surrounding one small human vessel. Soon that one ship might become 2 or 3 or more. He needed to take control of this situation before it spiraled beyond his ability to manage. "Open a channel to the human ship," he ordered. "Full broadcast power. I want them to hear me clearly." The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, my lord." Emperor Malthon stepped forward, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had never been denied anything he wanted. "Human vessel, this is Emperor Malthon, ruler of the Zephyrian Empire. You are trespassing in Imperial space without permission. You will surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded, or you will be destroyed." The response came back within seconds, and it was not what anyone expected. "Emperor Malthon, this is Captain Sarah Chun. We have no intention of surrendering. We are here under the authority of the United Earth Defense Force to conduct a formal diplomatic contact with your government." "Diplomatic contact?" General Thakmer whispered. "They want to talk?" Dr. Veltara stepped forward. "Sir, this is highly unusual. Most species make diplomatic contact through established channels. They send messages, arrange meetings, follow protocols. They do not simply appear in our space with advanced warships. Unless," said Analyst Mordok quietly, "they want to make sure we take them seriously." The Emperor considered this. Throughout his reign, smaller species had tried to establish contact with the Empire. Most were ignored. Those that persisted were usually conquered and absorbed into Imperial territory. Perhaps these humans had studied Imperial history and decided that only a show of strength would get his attention. If so, they had succeeded. "Captain Chun," the Emperor said into the communication system, "if you wish diplomatic contact, you will follow established protocols. You will surrender your vessel for inspection and submit to Imperial authority. These are our terms." The reply came back even faster this time. "Emperor Malthon, I believe there has been a misunderstanding. We are not requesting permission to enter your space. We are informing you that we have entered your space. We are not seeking to join your empire. We are here to establish formal relations between equals." A shocked silence fell over the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. No one had ever spoken to the Emperor like that. No one had ever suggested that any species was equal to the Zephyrian Empire. General Thakmer's face turned dark with anger. "My lord, this is an insult that cannot be allowed to stand. We should destroy that ship immediately and show these humans the price of disrespecting Imperial authority." "Sir," Admiral Vextar's voice came over the communication system, "I strongly advise against any aggressive action until we understand what we are dealing with." "Admiral," the Emperor said, "you have always been a cautious man, but caution has its limits. We cannot allow a single ship to defy the entire Imperial fleet." "My lord, with respect, that single ship has technology we do not understand. Look at your tactical displays. Really look at them." The Emperor studied the screens around him. The human ship was small compared to his dreadnoughts, but every sensor reading suggested it was more dangerous than anything in his fleet. Its energy output was massive. Its hull showed no weak points. Most disturbing of all, it continued to scan his ships as if preparing for battle. "What do you recommend, Admiral?" the Emperor asked. "Give them time to explain themselves. If they wanted to attack us, they could have done so already. The fact that they are talking suggests they prefer diplomacy to warfare." Dr. Veltara nodded in agreement. "Sir, if this ship represents standard human technology, then we are dealing with a species far more advanced than our intelligence suggested. It would be wise to learn more before taking action." But General Thakmer disagreed. "My lord, if we show weakness now, every species in the galaxy will think they can challenge Imperial authority. We must destroy this ship as an example, too." Others, the Emperor looked around his bridge at the faces of his advisors. Some wanted caution, others wanted immediate action. All of them were afraid, though they tried to hide it. "Captain Chun," he said into the communication system, "you claim to represent an advanced civilization. Prove it. Show us your authority." To speak for humanity, the response was immediate. Very well, Emperor. Stand by for a demonstration of human diplomatic credentials. The human ship suddenly came alive with activity. Lights that had been dim began to glow brighter. Sections of the hull that had appeared solid began to move and shift. Weapon ports opened along the vessel's sides, revealing technology that made no sense to Imperial sensors. "Sir?" called out the sensor operator. "The human ship is powering up weapon systems. Are they targeting us?" General Fakemore demanded. "No, sir. They appear to be demonstrating the weapon systems are active but not aimed at any of our vessels." On the main screen, the human ship transformed before their eyes. What had looked like a simple warship became something else entirely. Energy fields surrounded the hull. Weapon arrays extended from hidden compartments. The vessel suddenly looked 3 times larger and infinitely more dangerous. But the most shocking part was yet to come. "Emperor Malthan," Captain Chin's voice came over the communication system. "You asked for proof of our authority. What you are seeing is one of our standard diplomatic escort vessels. It is designed to ensure that our diplomatic missions are taken seriously." "Diplomatic escort?" Dr. Veltara whispered. "If this is what they bring to peaceful meetings, what do their actual warships look like?" "Captain Chun," the Emperor said, trying to keep his voice steady, "what exactly do you want from the Zephyrian Empire?" "We want to discuss the future, Emperor. Humanity has been watching your expansion for several decades. We have observed your methods of conquest and your treatment of subject species. We believe it is time for a conversation about how civilized species should interact with each other." The bridge fell silent. The implications of those words were staggering. Humanity had been watching them for decades, without the Empire knowing about it. "Sir," Analyst Morduck said quietly, "if they have been observing us for decades, they know everything about our military capabilities, our trade routes, our weaknesses. And they chose now to make contact," General Fakemore added grimly. "That suggests they believe they are ready for whatever response we might make." Emperor Malthan stared at the transformed human ship on his screen. For the first time in his long reign, he was faced with a situation he did not understand and could not control through force. "Captain Chun," he said finally, "what makes you think the Zephyrian Empire is interested in your conversation?" Her response chilled him to the bone. "Emperor, I think you misunderstand the situation. This is not a request for a meeting. This is a notification that the meeting is about to begin. Whether you participate willingly or not is entirely up to you." The silence on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion lasted for exactly 30 seconds. Then General Fakemore exploded with rage. "How dare they?" he roared, his massive fists slamming down on the tactical display. "No one threatens the Zephyrian Empire. No one." Emperor Malthan raised his hand for silence, but his mind was racing. In 500 years of imperial rule, no one had ever spoken to him the way this human captain just had. The audacity was breathtaking. It was also terrifying. "Sir," Dr. Veltara said quietly, "I believe we need to consider the possibility that Captain Chun is not making an empty threat." "What do you mean?" the Emperor asked. "Look at our tactical readings. That single ship has technology we cannot understand. If they have been watching us for decades as they claim, they know everything about our military capabilities. They would not make such a bold statement unless they were confident they could back it up." General Fakemore turned on her with fury in his eyes. "Are you suggesting we bow down to these primitives? The Empire has conquered 1,000 worlds. We have the largest fleet in known space." "General," Admiral Vextar's voice came over the communication system from his flagship, "I have been studying the sensor readings from their vessel. Dr. Veltara is right. This is not primitive technology." "Explain," the Emperor ordered. "My lord, their ship's energy output alone exceeds that of our entire fleet combined. Their hull composition is unlike anything in our databases. The materials appear to be artificially created at the molecular level. Most disturbing of all, their scanning technology can see through our shields as if they do not exist." "That is impossible," General Fakemore declared. Sir, 6 hours ago I would have agreed with you, but the evidence is right here on our sensors. Chief. Analyst Morduk stepped forward with a data tablet in his hands. My lord, I have been analyzing the communications from the human ship. The language processing alone suggests technology far beyond what we believed humans possessed. What do? You mean? Sir, Captain Chun is speaking perfect Zephyrian. Not just the words, but the grammar, the cultural context, even the formal protocols. She knows exactly how to address an emperor according to our traditions. That level of language mastery typically takes decades of study. Emperor Malthan felt a cold realization creeping over him, unless they have been studying us much longer than we thought. Exactly, sir. If they have been observing us for decades, they have had time to learn everything about our culture, our language, our military tactics, our political structure. They know us better than we know ourselves? The Emperor walked to the main viewing screen and stared at the human ship. It sat in space like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. Despite being surrounded by 200 of the Empire's finest warships, it showed no sign of concern or fear. Open a channel to their ship, he ordered. Channel open, my lord. Captain Chun, this is Emperor Malthan. You speak of conversations and meetings, but your words sound more like threats. If you truly seek diplomatic relations, why do you not follow established protocols? The response came immediately, and the tone was perfectly polite, which somehow made it more unsettling. Emperor Malthan, we have followed your established protocols for decades. We sent diplomatic messages through proper channels. They were ignored. We attempted to establish contact through intermediary species. Those species were conquered and absorbed into your empire before they could deliver our messages. We tried to arrange meetings through neutral territories. You refused to acknowledge our existence. The bridge fell silent. No one had told the Emperor about diplomatic attempts from humanity. Either the messages had been filtered out by lower-level officials, or they had been deliberately hidden from him. Continue, the Emperor said grimly. We realized that the Zephyrian Empire only responds to strength. So we decided to demonstrate that humanity possesses the strength necessary to be taken seriously. We are here because polite requests do not work with your government. General Fakmer stepped forward angrily. If you want to demonstrate strength, then you have succeeded. But you are still only one ship against our entire fleet. Your threats are meaningless. Captain Chin's laughter came through the communication system. It was not the laughter of someone who was afraid. It was the laughter of someone who found the situation amusing. General Fakmer, I believe you misunderstand our position. This is not a threat. This is a notification. Let me be very clear about what is happening here. The human ship's hull began to glow with energy. Sections that had appeared solid started to shift and move. New weapon arrays became visible as they extended from hidden compartments. The energy readings on Imperial sensors climbed higher and higher. What you are looking at is the UES Retribution, a diplomatic escort vessel. It is designed to ensure peaceful meetings. It is not a warship. Not a warship? Dr. Veltara whispered. If that is not a warship, what are their actual military vessels like? You will have 30 minutes to consider our request for diplomatic talks, Captain Chun continued. After that time, we will assume that the Zephyrian Empire prefers to handle this situation through military means rather than diplomatic ones. And if we choose military action? General Fakmer demanded. Then we will defend ourselves according to human military doctrine. The communication ended. The human ship returned to its silent waiting, but now it looked completely different. What had appeared to be a sleek vessel was revealed to be something far more complex and dangerous. Energy fields surrounded the hull. Weapon systems that made no sense to Imperial science were clearly visible. Emperor Malthan turned to his advisors. I want options, all of them. General Fakmer spoke first. My lord, we attack immediately with overwhelming force. 200 ships against one. Even with their advanced technology, they cannot survive that kind of assault. Admiral Vextar, your opinion? The Admiral's voice came through the communication system. Sir, I strongly advise against military action. We do not understand their capabilities. For all we know, attacking that ship could be the last mistake we ever make. Dr. Veltara? My lord, I believe we should take their diplomatic offer seriously. They have demonstrated technological superiority. They claim to have been studying us for decades. If they wanted to destroy us, they probably could have done so already, Analyst Mordak? Sir, the mathematics are troubling. If this is truly their diplomatic vessel, and they are willing to bring it alone into the heart of imperial space, then their confidence in their military capabilities must be absolute. Emperor Malthan considered all the advice. His entire reign had been built on the principle that the Empire was the strongest force in the galaxy. Every decision he had made was based on that assumption. Now he was being forced to consider the possibility that assumption was wrong. Sir, the sensor operator called out urgently. New contacts approaching. More human ships? Yes, sir. 3 vessels dropping out of hyperspace at extreme range. The tactical display updated to show 3 new ships approaching from different directions. They were larger than the Retribution, and their energy signatures were even more impressive. Sir, Admiral Vexstar reported, these new vessels are definitely military ships. They are taking positions around our fleet. Are they targeting us? No, sir, but they are in perfect position to attack if needed. General Fakmer stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 4 ships. They think 4 ships can threaten the entire Imperial fleet? General, Dr. Veltara said quietly, what if they can? Impossible, is it? Look at the energy readings from those vessels. Each one is more powerful than our largest dreadnought. If their weapons are as advanced as their sensors and engines, then 4 ships might be more than enough. Emperor Malthan felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. For 500 years, the Empire had expanded through conquest. They had never backed down from a fight. They had never negotiated with anyone as equals, but they had also never faced an enemy like this. Sir, the communication officer called out. Message from Captain Chun. Put it through. Emperor Malthan, as you can see, additional vessels have arrived. These are actual military ships, not diplomatic escorts. I want to be very clear about something. We do not want a war with the Zephyrian Empire. War is wasteful and destructive. We prefer diplomacy. But if you choose military action, we are prepared for that as well. Our ships are in position. Our weapons are powered. Our defensive systems are active. We will not fire first, but we will respond to any attack with appropriate force. What do you consider appropriate force? The Emperor asked. Emperor, if you attack us, we will defend ourselves according to human military doctrine. I do not think you want to discover what that means. General Fakmer could not contain himself any longer. Enough of this. My lord, we cannot allow these creatures to dictate terms to the Empire. Order the attack. Emperor Malthan looked around his bridge. His general wanted war. His admiral wanted caution. His scientists wanted negotiation. His analysts wanted more. Information. The choice was his alone. Captain Chun, he said finally. You have 30 minutes, you said. What exactly are you proposing? A meeting, Emperor, face to face. You and I with appropriate escorts? We discussed the future relationship between humanity and the Zephyrian Empire. We find a way for both our civilizations to coexist peacefully. And if we cannot reach an agreement, then we will have tried diplomacy first. That is important to us. Important for what? Important for what comes after. The communication ended again. Emperor Malthan stared at the tactical display showing 4 human ships positioned around his massive fleet. 4 ships that might or might not be able to destroy everything he had built over 5 centuries of conquest. Sir, Admiral Vexstar called out, what are your orders? Emperor Malthan had ruled the galaxy through strength and fear. He had never backed down from a challenge. He had never shown weakness to any enemy, but these humans were not like any enemy he had ever faced. They spoke of diplomacy while demonstrating overwhelming technological superiority. They offered peace while positioning weapons that could probably destroy his entire fleet. "25 minutes remaining," General Thakmer said, checking his chronometer. "We need to make a decision." The Emperor looked one more time at the human ships on his display. So small compared to his massive fleet, yet somehow more dangerous than anything he had ever encountered. For the first time in his reign, Emperor Malthan was not sure what to do, and that uncertainty terrified him more than any ever had. 20 minutes passed like hours on the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. Emperor Malthan stood motionless, staring at the tactical display. 4 human ships surrounded his fleet of 200 vessels. The numbers should have been reassuring. They were not. 15 minutes remaining, my lord, General Thakmer announced. His voice was steady, but sweat glistened on his scarred forehead. "Sir," Dr. Veltara said quietly, "I have been analyzing the positioning of their ships. It is not random. Explain." "They have placed themselves at precise mathematical points around our fleet. If I am reading this correctly, they can attack any of our vessels from multiple angles simultaneously. More importantly, they have positioned themselves to prevent any of our ships from escaping." Admiral Vextar's voice crackled over the communication. "System confirmed. Their tactical positioning is perfect. Too perfect. They know exactly how our ships move, how fast they can accelerate, how quickly they can change direction. They have planned for every possible response we might make." Emperor Malthan felt his jaw tighten. "How is that possible?" "Sir, analyst," Mordic said, consulting his data tablet, "if they have been observing us for decades as they claim, they have seen our fleet tactics in hundreds of battles. They know how we fight better than we do." 10 minutes, my lord," General Thakmer announced. The Emperor walked to the communications station. "Open a channel to Captain Chun." "Channel open, sir." "Captain Chun, this is Emperor Malthan. Before I make my decision, I want to understand something. What happens if I choose to fight?" Her response was immediate and matter-of-fact. "You will lose, Emperor." The blunt answer sent a shock through the bridge. No one had ever spoken to the Emperor with such casual certainty about defeating Imperial forces. "That seems unlikely," General Thakmer snarled into the microphone. "We outnumber you 50 to 1. "General Thakmer," Captain Chun replied, "you are thinking in terms of old warfare. Numbers matter when technology is roughly equal. When one side has overwhelming technological superiority, numbers become irrelevant." "Prove it," the general demanded. There was a pause. Then Captain Chun's voice returned, and it carried a note of regret. "Very well. We will provide a small demonstration." The human ship called Retribution suddenly moved. It did not accelerate slowly like Imperial vessels. It simply appeared in a different location, as if it had teleported across space. The movement was so fast that Imperial sensors could barely track it. "How did they do that?" Dr. Veltara gasped. "Unknown," Admiral Vextar reported. "Our sensors show impossible acceleration. They move from stationary to maximum speed instantly." That should have torn their ship apart. The Retribution positioned itself directly in front of the Imperial flagship, Iron Thunder, Admiral Vextar's command ship. It was close enough that the two vessels could have touched if they extended their docking arms. "Attention, Imperial fleet," Captain Chain announced. "What you are about to see is a demonstration of human defensive technology. The Iron Thunder will fire all weapons at the Retribution. We will not return fire. This is purely a test of our defensive capabilities." "Sir," Admiral Vextar called out urgently, "I did not authorize any weapons fire." "Admiral," the Emperor said grimly, "fire all weapons at the human ship. My lord, are you certain?" "Do it. I want to see what their defenses can handle." "Sir, firing all weapons at point-blank range could destroy both ships if their shields fail." "Admiral, that is an order." There was a long pause. Then Admiral Vextar's voice returned heavy with resignation. "All weapons target the human vessel. Fire." The Iron Thunder unleashed everything it had. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids. Quantum torpedoes that could crack moons. Energy beams that could slice through the hulls of dreadnoughts. The combined firepower was enough to destroy an entire city, the space between the two ships filled with brilliant light. As the weapons discharged, the energy release was so intense that every ship in the fleet had to activate emergency filters on their viewing screens to avoid being blinded. When the light faded, both ships were still there. The Iron Thunder showed scorch marks where its own weapons had overloaded from firing at maximum power. The Retribution looked exactly the same as before. "Impossible," General Fakemore whispered. "Sir," the sensor operator reported, "the human ship shows no damage, none at all. Their shields absorbed the entire barrage without even flickering. How much power would that require?" Dr. Veltara asked. "Unknown, more than our entire fleet." "Generates." Emperor Malthan stared at the undamaged human ship. The Iron Thunder was one of the most powerful vessels in the Imperial Navy. Its weapons could destroy any known ship in the galaxy. Yet they had not even scratched the human vessels. "Defenses. Demonstration complete," Captain Chun announced. "As you can see, your weapons cannot penetrate our defensive systems. Are you ready for the second part of the demonstration?" "There is more?" the Emperor asked. "Yes, we have shown you our defenses. Now we will show you our weapons. Please observe." The Retribution moved again with that impossible speed, positioning itself at the edge of the Imperial formation. It pointed toward an empty region of space where nothing existed except cosmic dust and distant stars. "We will now demonstrate human offensive capabilities. The target is an asteroid approximately 1 light minute away. Please observe your long-range sensors." Emperor Malthan looked at the tactical display. His sensors showed a small asteroid drifting in the void, so far away it was barely detectable. The human ship fired. There was no visible beam, no projectile, no energy discharge that Imperial sensors could detect. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the asteroid simply ceased to exist. "Sir," the sensor operator said in a shaky voice, "the target has been completely destroyed. Atomic-level destruction. There is not even debris." "What kind of weapon can do that?" Dr. Veltara asked. "Unknown. Our sensors detected no energy discharge, no projectile, nothing. The asteroid was there one moment and gone the next." "Range to target?" Admiral Vextar inquired. "Approximately 18 billion kilometers, sir." The bridge fell silent. The implications were staggering. The humans had just destroyed a target at a distance so great that light took a full minute to travel between the weapon and its target. Imperial weapons had effective ranges measured in thousands of kilometers, not billions. "Captain Chun," the Emperor said, his voice carefully controlled, "that was an impressive demonstration." "Thank you, Emperor. Now, if you're ready, we will demonstrate our offensive capabilities against military targets." "What do you mean?" "We will disable one of your ships. Non-lethally, of course. We have no desire to harm your crew. Please select a vessel for the demonstration." General Fakemore exploded with rage. "My lord, you cannot allow them to attack our ships. This is intolerable." "General," the Emperor said quietly, "I think we are past the point where what I allow matters." He studied the tactical display, looking at his fleet of proud warships. Each one represented years of construction, billions of credits, and the lives of thousands of crew members. Choosing one to be a target was like choosing which of his children to sacrifice. "The cruiser Stellar Pride," he said finally. "It has the smallest crew complement." "Sir," Captain Chun responded, "we will disable the Stellar Pride using minimum force. Please note that this is not an attack. It is a demonstration. The crew will not be harmed." On the tactical display, one of the human military vessels moved into position. Like the Retribution, it moved with impossible speed and grace. It positioned itself several thousand kilometers from the Stellar Pride, well outside the range of Imperial weapons. "Firing," Captain Chun announced. Again, Imperial sensors detected nothing. No energy beam, no projectile, no visible effect of any kind, but the Stellar Pride suddenly went dark. "Sir," Admiral Vextar reported, "the Stellar Pride has lost all power. Engines offline, weapons offline, life support on emergency backup only." "Damage report?" "No damage, sir. All systems are intact but non-functional. It is as if someone simply turned off every piece of technology on the ship. Can they restart their systems?" "Negative." Whatever the humans did, it has completely shut down every electronic device on that vessel. The crew is alive, but the ship is effectively dead. Emperor Malthus stared at the disabled cruiser. The Stellar Pride had been built using the finest technology the Empire possessed. Its defenses had been designed to withstand any known weapon. Yet the humans had disabled it without causing any physical damage at all. How? He asked. Sir, Dr. Veltara said, consulting her scientific instruments, I believe they use some form of electromagnetic pulse, but far more sophisticated than anything we understand. They somehow disrupted the quantum functions of every electronic device on that ship simultaneously. Can we protect against it? Not with our current technology. This is centuries beyond anything we have developed. Captain Chun, the Emperor said into the communication system, you have made your point. Your weapons and defenses are superior to ours. Thank you for acknowledging that, Emperor. Now we will demonstrate why you should not attempt to fight. US even knowing this. There is more? Oh yes. What you have seen so far is what one of our ships can do alone. Now we will show you what happens when human ships work together. The 4 human vessels moved into a formation that looked almost like a dance. They positioned themselves at the corners of a perfect square around the Imperial fleet. Energy fields began to connect the ships, creating a web of power that surrounded every Imperial vessel. Attention Imperial fleet, Captain Chun announced. You are now contained within a human tactical grid. All of your ships are targeted simultaneously. All of your weapons are being suppressed. All of your engines are being monitored. You cannot move, you cannot fight, and you cannot escape. Impossible, General Thakmar breathed. Sir? Admiral Vextar's voice was tight with tension. She is correct. Every ship in the fleet is reporting the same thing. Weapons offline, engines locked, communication systems disrupted. We are completely helpless. Emperor Malthus looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. For the first time in 500 years of Imperial expansion, the greatest fleet in the galaxy had been defeated without firing a shot. Captain Chun, he said quietly, what do you want? The same thing I wanted 30 minutes ago, Emperor? A conversation. The only difference is that now you understand the consequences of refusing to talk. The energy grid around the Imperial fleet flickered and disappeared. Instantly, all the disabled ships came back online. Weapon systems activated, engines powered up, communications were restored. Your fleet is free to go, Captain Chun announced. But before you leave, you should know that this demonstration used approximately 1% of our available military capability. If you choose to continue this conflict, the next encounter will not be a demonstration. Emperor Malthus sat heavily in his command chair. In the space of 30 minutes, everything he thought he knew about warfare had been proven wrong. The Empire was not the strongest force in the galaxy. They were not even close. Captain Chun, he said, his voice heavy with defeat, I accept your request for diplomatic talks. The meeting was arranged for neutral space, halfway between the human ships and the Imperial fleet. Emperor Malthus had insisted on bringing his full ceremonial guard, 50 of his finest warriors in golden armor. Captain Chun had agreed to meet. With only 3 companions as the Imperial shuttle approached the designated coordinates, Emperor Malthus studied the human vessel waiting for them. It was smaller than his shuttle, but somehow looked more advanced. The hull was smooth and featureless, with no visible weapons or engines. It simply floated in space as if the laws of physics did not apply to it. My lord, General Thakmar said, checking his weapons for the 10th time, I still believe this is a mistake. We should have brought more ships, more soldiers. General, the Emperor replied tiredly, after what we witnessed, do you really think a few more soldiers would make any difference? Dr. Veltara looked up from her scientific instruments. Sir, I am reading incredible energy signatures from their vessel. Whatever technology they are using, it is unlike anything we have ever encountered. The Imperial shuttle docked with the human ship with surprising ease. The docking systems seemed to adjust automatically to accommodate the different designs. As they prepared to board, Emperor Malfin straightened his golden robes and tried to project the authority he had always possessed. The airlock opened, and Emperor Malfin got his first look at actual humans. They were surprisingly ordinary. Captain Chun was a woman of average height with brown hair and dark eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform with no decorations except for small rank insignia on her collar. The three officers with her looked equally unremarkable. "Emperor Malfin," Captain Chun said, bowing slightly in the formal Zephyrian manner. "Thank you for agreeing to this meeting." The Emperor was taken aback by her perfect knowledge of Imperial protocol. "Captain Chin, you honor us with your courtesy. Please follow me to the conference room." As they walked through the human ship, Emperor Malfin observed everything carefully. The corridors were clean and efficient, with no wasted space. The walls displayed information in symbols he could not read, but somehow the ship felt more advanced than anything in the Imperial fleet. The conference room was simple but comfortable. A round table with chairs for all participants. No weapons, no guards, no signs of military presence. It felt more like a business meeting than a negotiation between galactic powers. "Please be seated," Captain Chun said. "Would you care for refreshments? We have learned to synthesize beverages that are safe for Zephyrian physiology. You have studied us that thoroughly?" Dr. Veltara asked. "Dr. Veltara, we have been observing your civilization for over 40 years. We know your biology, your culture, your history, your technology. We probably know your people better than you know yourselves." General Thakmer bristled. "Why? What gives you the right to spy on us?" Captain Chin's expression remained calm. "General, we observe all spacefaring civilizations. It is part of our responsibility as a member of the galactic community." "What? Galactic community?" the Emperor asked. "The community of species that have evolved beyond conquest and domination. The civilizations that have learned to coexist peacefully and share the galaxy's resources." "How many species are in this community?" Dr. Veltara inquired. "Currently, 47 different civilizations. They represent approximately 60% of all intelligent life in this galaxy." The Emperor felt his world shifting beneath him. "Are you saying that most of the galaxy is united against us?" "Not against you, Emperor. They simply choose not to interact with conquest-based civilizations. The Zephyrian Empire has been ... isolated. Why have we never encountered these other species?" Captain Chun smiled sadly. "Because they avoid you. When your scouts approach their territories, they hide. When your fleets enter their space, they withdraw. They have been waiting for you to either evolve beyond conquest or to encounter someone who could force you to change. Someone like humanity," General Thakmer said grimly. "Yes." The Emperor leaned back in his chair. For 500 years, he had believed the Empire was expanding into empty space, conquering primitive species and bringing civilization to the galaxy. Now he was learning that advanced civilizations had been avoiding him all along. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "We want you to stop," Captain Chun said simply. "Stop what?" "Stop conquering. Stop enslaving other species. Stop expanding through force and violence. Join the galactic community as equals rather than conquerors." General Thakmer slammed his fist on the table. "The Empire has expanded for 500 years. Our entire civilization is built on conquest. You cannot simply ask us to abandon everything we are." "General, we are not asking. We are telling you that the age of conquest is over. Your choice is simple: evolve or be forced to change." "Are you threatening us?" the Emperor asked quietly. "Emperor, what you witnessed today was not a threat. It was a demonstration of reality. Humanity has the capability to end the Zephyrian Empire whenever we choose. The fact that we are sitting here talking instead of fighting is our gift to you." Dr. Veltara leaned forward. "Captain, I must ask about your technology. How did you advance so far beyond us so quickly?" "Dr. Veltara, you are making an assumption. You assume that humanity is younger than your civilization. Are you not? Our records show humans achieved spaceflight only 50 years ago." Captain Chun exchanged glances with her companions. Dr. Valtara, humanity has been spacefaring for over 3,000 years. The silence in the room was absolute. That is impossible, General Thakmor said. We would have encountered you before now. General, humanity learned early in our development that the galaxy contained many aggressive species. We learned to be careful, to observe before acting, to remain hidden until we understood what we were dealing with. You have been hiding from us for 3,000 years? The Emperor asked. Not just from you. From all conquest-based civilizations, we have been watching, learning, and preparing. Preparing for what? For this moment. For the time when we would need to step forward and say, enough. Dr. Valtara was studying her instruments. Captain, if you have been spacefaring for 3,000 years, your technology must be ... centuries ahead of yours, yes. The ships you saw today are not our most advanced vessels. They are what we use for diplomatic missions because they are less likely to cause panic. Less likely? General Thakmor laughed bitterly. Your diplomatic ships just disabled our entire fleet. General, our actual warships would have destroyed your fleet. Every ship, every crew member, every trace that you ever existed in approximately 30 seconds. The Emperor felt cold fear in his stomach. How many ships do you have? Emperor, you are still thinking in terms of individual ships. Humanity does not count ships. We count fleets. We have thousands of fleets. Thousands? Yes, and each fleet contains technology that makes what you witnessed today look primitive. General Thakmor stared at her in disbelief. If you have that kind of power, why did you not simply destroy us years ago? Because, General, humanity believes that every species deserves a chance to evolve. We hope that civilizations can learn to be better than their worst impulses. We give them opportunities to change. And if they do not change? Captain Chun's expression hardened. Then we ensure they can no longer harm others. The Emperor understood the implication. What happened to other conquest-based civilizations, the ones that refused to change? Some learned to coexist peacefully. They joined the galactic community and found prosperity through cooperation rather than conquest. And the others? There are no others, Emperor. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Emperor Malthan realized he was looking at the end of everything his civilization had ever been. Either the Empire would transform itself completely, or it would cease to exist. What exactly are you proposing? He asked. A transition period. Over the next 50 years, the Zephyrian Empire will gradually release its conquered territories. Subject species will be given their freedom. Your military will be restructured for defense rather than conquest. Your government will learn to interact with other civilizations as equals. And if we refuse? Then humanity will implement the transition for you, immediately and permanently. General Thakmor stood up angrily. This is intolerable. We are the Zephyrian Empire. We bow to no one. Captain Chun looked at him with something that might have been pity. General, your empire exists because we allow it to exist. Your ships fly because we permit them to fly. Your worlds remain inhabited because we choose not to make them uninhabitable. You bow to us whether you admit it or not? The general reached for his weapon, but before his hand could touch it, he found himself unable to move. His armor had somehow locked in position, holding him motionless. General, Captain Chun said calmly, there are no weapons in this room that we have not neutralized. There are no threats you can make that we cannot counter. There are no actions you can take that we have not already prevented. She gestured, and the general's armor released him. He staggered back into his chair, staring at his hands as if they had betrayed him. Emperor, Captain Chun continued, we hope you will choose the path of cooperation. Humanity would prefer to welcome the Zephyrian Empire into the galactic community, rather than dismantling it. How long do we have to decide? The Emperor asked. You have already decided, Emperor. The moment you agreed to this meeting, you acknowledged that humanity is the dominant power in this relationship. Now we are simply discussing the details of how your civilization will adapt to the new reality. The Emperor looked around the conference room at his advisors. General Thakmor sat in stunned silence. Dr. Veltara was furiously taking notes on her instruments. All of them understood that they were witnessing the end of one age and the beginning of another. "What guarantees do we have?" the Emperor asked. "How do we know humanity will honor any agreement we make?" "Emperor, if we wanted to destroy you, we would have done so already. If we wanted to conquer you, your empire would already be ours. We are here because we believe in giving civilizations the chance to choose their own future, within limits. Yes, within the limits of not harming others." Emperor Malfin stood and walked to the viewport. Outside he could see his fleet. In the distance, looking small and fragile against the backdrop of stars. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds now seemed like toys compared to the technology he had witnessed. "Captain Chun," he said finally, "if I agree to your terms, what happens to me? What happens to the empire I have built? Emperor, you remain the leader of your people, but instead of ruling through conquest, you will lead them into a larger community. Instead of expanding through war, you will grow through cooperation. Instead of being feared by the galaxy, you will be respected by it. And if I refuse?" Captain Chun joined him at the viewport. "Then someone else will lead your people into that future. The future itself is not negotiable, Emperor. Only your role in it." Emperor Malfin stared out at the stars for a long time. Finally, he turned back to face the human captain. "I accept your terms," he said quietly. "Thank you, Emperor. I believe you have made the right choice." As they prepared to return to their respective ships, Captain Chun handed the Emperor a small device. "What is this?" "A communication device. When you are ready to begin the transition, activate it." "We will be." "There to help." "Help?" "Emperor, transforming a conquest-based civilization into a peaceful one is not easy. We have experience with this process. We will guide you through it." As the Imperial shuttle returned to the Eternal Dominion, Emperor Malfin sat in silence. Behind him, the age of conquest was ending. Ahead of him, a new and uncertain future was beginning. But for the first time in centuries, it was a future where the galaxy might know peace. Admiral Kethmos stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the massive viewing screen. His blue skin looked pale in the dim light. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with nervous energy. Everyone knew what was coming. The Vexnari Empire was only hours away. For 3 months, the enemy had swept across the galaxy like a plague. They destroyed everything in their path. Whole planets turned to ash, entire star systems went dark. The Galactic Defense Coalition had tried to stop them. Every battle ended the same way. The Coalition lost. Now the final battle was about to begin at the Kepler Nexus. This was the most important hyperspace junction in the galaxy. If the Vexnari took control here, they could reach any world they wanted, including the home planets of every Coalition species. Kethmos looked at the tactical display floating in front of him. Red dots showed enemy ships. There were thousands of them. Blue dots showed Coalition forces. There were only a few hundred left. The numbers told a simple story. They were going to lose, but there was one ship that made him pause. In the center of their formation sat a massive vessel. It was bigger than any other ship in the fleet, the Erebus Terminus. Even looking at it made Kethmos feel strange. The ship was ancient. Coalition forces had found it drifting in deep space 200 years ago. It was completely dead then, no power. No life signs, nothing. Scientists from every species had studied it. They found technology beyond anything they understood. Weapons that could destroy moons, shields that could stop black holes. An AI system. More advanced than anything ever built, but none of it worked. The ship would not respond to any of them. The Aldari, with their powerful minds, could not make contact with its computer. The Zephyrians, masters of technology, could not unlock its systems. The Krillians, the strongest warriors in the galaxy, could not even open a simple door inside the ship. For 2 centuries, the Erebus Terminus had been a mystery, a promise of power that no one could claim. Now it sat dark and silent in the middle of their dying fleet. Commander Zixt H., a tall Zephyrian with gray skin and 4 arms, approached the admiral. Her movements were quick and precise, like a machine. Admiral, long-range sensors detect the Vexnari fleet. They will arrive in 4 hours, Kethmos nodded. He had expected this. How many ships? 12,000, including 50 planet killers. The bridge fell silent. Planet killers were exactly what their name suggested. Each one could destroy an entire world in minutes. 50 of them could turn this whole star system into dust. What about our forces? Kethmos asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. 437 ships ready for battle. Most are damaged from previous fights. We have no planet killers. Only 3 heavy dreadnoughts besides the Erebus terminus. Kethmos closed his eyes for a moment. His people, the Aldari, were telepaths. They could feel the emotions of others. Right now, he felt the fear of every person in the fleet. Thousands of minds touched his own, all carrying the same message. They were going to die here, Captain. Morduk of the Krillian Empire stepped forward. He was huge, even for his species. His red skin was covered in battle scars. His 4 eyes glowed with anger. We should attack now, before they can organize. Strike hard and fast? With what? Zix asked. Her voice was cold and logical. They outnumber us 30 to 1. A direct attack would be suicide. Morduk's massive hands formed fists. Better to die fighting than wait here like prey. Kethmos understood both viewpoints. The Krillians were born warriors. They believed in honor through battle. The Zephyrians were scientists and engineers. They believed in logic and calculations. Both were right in their own way. Both were also wrong. There was no good choice here. The Admiral walked to the window and stared out at the Erebus terminus. The ship was beautiful in a terrible way. Its black hull seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. Strange symbols covered its surface. Symbols that changed depending on who looked at them. To the Aldari, they looked like thoughts made solid. To the Zephyrians, they resembled mathematical equations. To the Krillians, they appeared to be weapons, but to everyone they meant the same thing, power beyond imagination. Has anyone tried to contact the ship recently? Kethmos asked. Zixith's 4 arms moved over her control panel. Daily scans show no change. The AI remains unresponsive. Power levels are at 0. All attempts at communication have failed. What about boarding? Parties? The ship allows entry, but nothing more. Teams can walk through the corridors and examine the systems, but they cannot activate anything. It is as if the ship is waiting for something. Or someone, Morduk added quietly. That thought had occurred to many people over the years. Maybe the ship was programmed to respond only to a specific species. But every known race in the galaxy had tried. Even extinct species, through genetic samples and AI reconstructions. Nothing worked. A new voice joined the conversation. Admiral, incoming message from the outer sensor network. Kethmos turned to see Lieutenant Veltar, a young Aldari officer. Her face was pale with worry. What is it? The Vexnari are sending a transmission. They want to talk. This was unusual. The Vexnari never talked. They just attacked and destroyed. The fact that they wanted to communicate meant something. Put it through. The main screen flickered and changed. A creature appeared that made everyone on the bridge step backward. The Vexnari were not pleasant to look at. This one had gray skin that looked like metal. Its eyes were completely black. When it spoke, its voice sounded like grinding gears. Coalition. Forces, I am War Master Thekanos of the Vexnari Empire. You will surrender immediately. Kethmos stepped forward. As fleet commander, it was his duty to respond. This is Admiral Kethmos of the Galactic Defense Coalition. We will never surrender. To you. The creature on the screen made a sound that might have been laughter. You have 400 ships. We have 12,000. Your defeat is certain. Surrender now, and some of your people might survive as slaves? And if we refuse? Then you will all die. Every ship, every person. We will turn this system into a graveyard. Kethmos felt the fear from his crew growing stronger. But he also felt something else. Determination. These people had lost everything. Their homes, their families, their futures. But they still had their pride. We refuse. he said simply. The Vexnari's black eyes seemed to grow darker. Then you have chosen death. We will arrive in 4 hours. Use that time to pray to whatever gods you believe in. The transmission ended. The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Zixith was the first to speak. Admiral, I must point out that surrender might save some lives. Mordek growled deep in his throat. The Zephyrian thinks like a machine. Some things are worse than death. I think like a rational being, Zixith replied. Dead people cannot fight for freedom later. Enough, Kethmos said firmly. The decision is made. We fight. He looked around. The bridge and his officers, each came from a different world. Different cultures, different beliefs. But they were united now by circumstance and choice. Send a message to all ships, he ordered. Prepare for battle. All civilians should evacuate. To the inner system. Military vessels will form defensive positions around the Nexus. As his crew worked to carry out his orders, Kethmos found his eyes drawn back to the Erebus terminus. The massive ship sat there like a sleeping giant. So much power, so much potential. All of it useless, unless there was something they had missed. Zixith, he called out, send a team to the Erebus terminus. I want them to try everything again, every interface, every control system, every possible way to wake that ship up. Admiral, we have tried everything hundreds of times. Then try again. We have 4 hours and nothing to lose. The Zephyrian commander's 4 arms moved efficiently over her controls. Boarding party dispatched. Kethmos knew it was probably pointless. But sometimes when facing certain death, pointless hope was all you had left. The hours passed slowly. Reports came in from across the fleet. Ships moved into position. Weapons were charged. Shields were raised. Everyone prepared to fight a battle they could not win. Long-range sensors tracked the approaching Vexnari fleet. 12,000 ships moving through hyperspace like a storm of destruction. They would arrive exactly when they said they would. The enemy was many things, but they were never late. The boarding team on the Erebus terminus reported no progress. The ship remained as dead as ever. Ancient and powerful and completely useless. With 1 hour remaining, Kethmos made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. Open a channel to all frequencies, he ordered. Maximum range, send it to every corner of the galaxy, Admiral. Veltar looked confused. What message should we send? Kethmos thought for a moment. Then he began to speak. This is Admiral Kethmos of the Galactic Defense Coalition. We are about to fight our last battle at the Kepler Nexus. The Vexnari Empire will likely destroy us. But before we die, we want the galaxy to know something. We fought for freedom. We fought for peace. We fought for the right of all species to exist. If anyone receives this message, remember us. Remember that some people chose to fight rather than surrender to evil. He paused, then added, if there is anyone out there who can help us, we welcome your aid. No matter who you are or where you come from, we are not proud. We will accept help from anyone. The message went out across space at faster than light speeds. It would reach distant star systems in hours or days. Too late to bring help to this battle. But maybe somewhere someone would hear it and remember. The last hour passed like a countdown to doom. Ship captains reported ready status. Weapons were armed. Final prayers were said. Then, exactly on schedule, space itself seemed to tear. Opened, the Vexnari fleet emerged from hyperspace like demons from hell. 12,000 ships of various sizes. From small fighters to massive planet killers. All of them built for one purpose. Destruction. Kethmos stood on his bridge and watched death approach. Behind him he heard Veltar whisper a traditional Owlery prayer. Across the bridge, Mordek was sharpening one of his ceremonial blades. Zixith simply watched her displays with calm acceptance. The Vexnari fleet began to spread out, surrounding the coalition forces. There would be no escape, no mercy, no last-minute rescue. The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin. The first Vexnari shots lit up space like deadly fireworks. Admiral Kethmos gripped the railing of his bridge as his flagship shook from a near miss. Around him, his crew worked frantically at their stations. All ships, open fire. he commanded. The coalition fleet responded immediately. Hundreds of energy beams and missiles streaked toward the enemy. For a moment, Kethmos felt a flicker of hope as he watched their weapons hit Vexnari ships. That hope died quickly. The enemy vessels barely seemed to notice the attacks. Their shields absorbed everything the coalition threw at them. Meanwhile, Vexnari weapons cut through coalition defenses like paper. "The Starbreaker is gone," reported Lieutenant Veltar, her voice shaking. "Direct hit from a planet killer." Kethmos watched on his tactical display as a blue dot simply vanished. The Starbreaker had been one of their heavy cruisers. 800 crew members, gone in an instant. More reports flooded in. Ship after ship was being destroyed. The Vexnari had surrounded them completely. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. "Admiral, the Krillian battle group is requesting permission to charge the enemy line," Zix announced. Kethmos almost said yes. A desperate attack might break through somewhere. But he looked at the numbers on his screen. 30 Krillian ships. Against 3,000 Vexnari vessels, it would be suicide. "Tell Captain Morduk to hold position. We fight as a unit." On the main viewer, he could see the enemy planet killers moving into position. These massive ships were the size of small moons. Each one carried enough firepower to destroy an entire world. They were getting ready to finish the coalition fleet in one overwhelming attack. "Commander Zixith, what about the boarding team on the Erebus terminus?" The Zephyrian's 4 arms moved over her controls. "No progress, Admiral. The ship remains unresponsive. The team has tried every possible interface. Nothing works." Kethmos felt the weight of failure settling on his shoulders. So much hope had been placed in that ancient ship. 200 years of dreams and possibilities. All useless when they needed it most. Another explosion rocked the bridge. This time it was closer. "Shields down to 60%, someone called out. "Return fire on that destroyer," Kethmos ordered. Their weapons lashed out at a Vexnari ship. The enemy vessels' shields flickered but held. In response, it fired again. More powerful this time. Shields at 30%. The battle was going exactly as everyone had expected. The coalition was losing badly, but they were making the enemy work for their victory. Every Vexnari ship they damaged was one less to threaten innocent worlds. Across space, Captain Morduk's voice crackled over the communications system. "Admiral, my ships cannot hold much longer. The enemy is concentrating fire on our position." Kethmos could see it on his tactical display. A group of Vexnari vessels was focusing all their weapons on the Krillian battle group. The warrior species was tough, but not tough enough for this. "All ships, support the Krillian position. Concentrate fire on Grid 77. It was a desperate move. By helping Morduk, he was exposing other parts of their formation. But letting the Krillians die alone would not help anyone. The coalition fleet redirected their attacks. For a few minutes, they managed to drive back the Vexnari assault on that sector. But it cost them dearly elsewhere. "The medical frigate Mercy is taking heavy damage," Veltar reported. "Reroute them to the inner formation." "They cannot move, Admiral. Engines are offline." Kethmos closed his eyes. The Mercy carried wounded from previous battles. Over 1,000 patients and medical staff. All helpless. He opened his eyes and watched as Vexnari fighters swarmed around the crippled ship. Their weapons tore it apart slowly, section by section. The enemy did not believe in quick deaths. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the Aldari homeworld," Veltar announced. "Put it through." The face of High Minister Yelenoth appeared on screen. She was old, even for an Aldari. Her blue skin was wrinkled with age and worry. "Admiral Kethmos, we have been monitoring the battle. Is there any hope?" Kethmos looked around his bridge. At the damaged displays. At his frightened crew. At the tactical screen showing more blue dots disappearing every minute. "No, Minister, we will not survive this." The old Aldari nodded sadly. "Then know that our people are proud of you. Fight well, die with honor. We will." The transmission ended. Kethmos realized he might never see his homeworld again, never walk in the crystal gardens of his youth. never feel the warm telepathic embrace of his family, but there was no time for such thoughts. "Admiral, the planet killers are charging their main weapons," Zixith reported. Everyone on the bridge knew what that meant. When those massive ships fired, the Coalition fleet would cease to exist. They had perhaps 10 minutes left. Kethmos made a decision that surprised even himself. "Open a channel to all frequencies again, maximum power." "Send it everywhere, sir?" "If we are going to die, let the galaxy know how we died, and let them know who killed us." He activated the communication system and began to speak. "This is Admiral Kethmos of the Galactic Defense Coalition. We are making our final stand at the Kepler Nexus. The Vexnari Empire is about to destroy us, but we want the galaxy to remember this day. Remember that we fought for freedom. Remember that we died rather than surrender to tyranny." He paused as another explosion shook the ship. "If anyone receives this message anywhere in the galaxy, please remember us. And if you have the power to fight back against this evil, do it. Do not let our deaths be meaningless." The message streaked out across space at incredible speed. It would reach distant star systems in hours or days. Too late to save them, but maybe not too late to inspire others. On his tactical display, more blue dots vanished. The Coalition fleet was down to less than 200 ships. They had destroyed perhaps 50 Vexnari vessels in return. It was not enough. It would never be enough. "Admiral, the Defiance is requesting permission to ram that planet killer." Captain Morduck's voice came over the radio. Kethmos looked at the display. The Krillian heavy cruiser was badly damaged. Its shields were gone. Its weapons were offline. But it still had engines. "Granted," he said quietly. Everyone on the bridge watched as the Defiance turned toward the massive enemy ship. Its engines burned at full power as it accelerated. Smaller Vexnari ships tried to stop it, but the Krillian vessel pushed through their fire. The collision was spectacular. The Defiance struck the planet killer near its main weapon array. Both ships exploded in a ball of energy that lit up half the battlefield. "Direct hit," Zixth reported unnecessarily. "The planet killer is destroyed?" It was a small victory, but it felt enormous. One of the enemy's most powerful ships was gone. Captain Morduck and his crew had died, but they had taken their killers with them. "All ships, follow the Krillian example," Kethmos commanded. Any vessel too damaged to fight should find a target for ramming. It was not a traditional military order. But this was not a traditional battle. This was the end of everything they had fought for. If they were going to die, they would make it cost the enemy dearly. Across the battlefield, Coalition ships began to turn toward enemy vessels. Captains said final goodbyes to their crews. Engineers pushed damaged engines beyond their limits. Gunners fired last shots as they closed the distance. One by one, Coalition ships slammed into Vexnari vessels. Each collision destroyed both ships, but the trade was worth it. Coalition ships were going to die anyway. At least this way, they took enemies with them. The Vexnari seemed surprised by these desperate tactics. They began to pull their larger ships back, afraid of ramming attacks, but it was too late to save many of them. "Admiral, we have destroyed over 200 enemy vessels," Veltar reported with pride in her voice. "Good, but they still have 11,000 left." It was true. For all their desperate courage, the Coalition had barely dented the enemy fleet. The Vexnari could afford to lose a few hundred ships. They had thousands more. "Sir, the remaining planet killers are nearly ready to fire?" Kethmos nodded. This was it. The end of everything. He looked one last time at the Erebus terminus on his screen. The ancient ship sat there unchanged. Powerful beyond imagination, useless as always. Any word from the boarding team? They report no change. The ship remains dead. So much for ancient mysteries and last-minute miracles. Sometimes dead things stayed dead. "Admiral, massive energy surge from the planet killers. They are about to fire." Kethmos stood straight and faced the main screen. If he was going to die, he would do it looking at his enemy. "All ships, this is Admiral Kethmos. It has been an honor to serve with you. Fight to the last. Show them what courage looks like." On the tactical display, the remaining coalition ships formed a tight formation. Less than 100 vessels left, all damaged, all facing certain death. But none of them ran. The planet killer's weapons reached full charge. Incoming transmission, Veltar suddenly announced. Unknown ship requesting permission to join the battle? Kethmos almost laughed. At this point, what difference could one more ship make? But hope was hard to kill completely. Put them through. A new face appeared on the screen. It was unlike any species Kethmos had ever seen. The being had pale skin and strange hair on top of its head. Its eyes were small but bright with intelligence. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the Earth vessel Prometheus. We received your distress call. We are here to help. Earth? Kethmos had never heard of such a place. What species are you? We are human. And we do not like bullies. The Admiral looked at his tactical display. A single unknown ship had just dropped out of hyperspace. It was tiny compared to the Vexnari fleet. Compared to any ship in the battle. Captain Chun, I appreciate your courage. But one ship cannot change the outcome here. You should leave while you can. The human's face showed in strange expression. Admiral, we humans have a saying. It is not the size of the dog in the fight. It is the size of the fight in the dog? Before Kethmos could ask what a dog was, the transmission ended. On his screen, he watched the tiny human ship accelerate toward the battle zone. Admiral, the planet killers are firing, Zixth announced. Massive beams of energy reached out from the Vexnari superweapons. Each beam was powerful enough to crack a planet. Dozens of them lanced toward the coalition fleet. But instead of hitting their targets, something impossible happened. The beams bent. They curved away from the coalition ships and struck empty space. What just happened? Kethmos demanded. Unknown, Admiral. Some kind of gravity distortion. But we do not have technology capable of that. Everyone on the bridge looked at the tactical display. The tiny human ship was moving through the battlefield like it belonged there. Somehow, impossibly, it was protecting them. Get me that human captain again, Kethmos ordered. Captain Chen's face reappeared on screen. She was smiling. Admiral, we have a proposition for you. Have you ever tried working with humans before? I have never even heard of humans before. Well, you are about to get a very quick education. That ancient ship of yours, the Erebus Terminus, we would like to take a look at it. Kethmos felt his telepathic abilities picking up something strange from this human. Confidence, absolute, unshakable confidence, as if she knew something no one else did. Captain, many species have tried to activate that ship. All have failed. Admiral, those other species made one critical mistake. What mistake? The human captain's smile grew wider. They were not human. Captain Sarah Chun watched the battle through the viewing screen of the Prometheus. The coalition fleet was dying. Ship after ship exploded under Vexnari fire. She had arrived just in time to watch a genocide. Marcus, how are our gravity generators holding up? She asked her chief engineer. Marcus Torres wiped sweat from his forehead. The field is stable, Captain. But I do not know how long we can protect the whole coalition fleet. Our ship was not designed for this, Sarah nodded. The Prometheus was. A small exploration vessel. It carried a crew of only 50 humans. But it also carried some of Earth's most advanced technology. Technology that the galaxy had never seen before. Elena, what do you think about that big ship in the center? Sarah asked her science officer. Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from her instruments. The Erebus Terminus? Captain, the energy readings are incredible. That ship has more power potential than everything else in this battle combined. But it is not working. No, it appears completely dead. But the technology... Sarah, I have never seen anything like it. On the main screen, another coalition ship exploded. The Vexnari were methodically destroying everything. Soon they would turn their attention to the Prometheus. Captain Chun, Admiral Kethmos appeared on their communication screen. Your gravity field is protecting us, but it cannot last forever. The Vexnari will adapt, they always do. Sarah studied the alien commander. His blue skin and large eyes made him look fragile, but she could sense strength in him, This was someone who had fought impossible battles before. Admiral, I need to get aboard the Erebus Terminus. Can you arrange that? Captain, I told you. Many species have tried to activate that ship. All have failed. The Aldari tried telepathic contact. The Zephyrians tried technological interfaces. The Krillians tried brute force. Nothing works, Sarah smiled. Admiral, has anyone ever tried being human? Before the Admiral could respond, Sarah cut the transmission. She turned to her crew. Marcus, Elena, you are with me. Tommy, you have the bridge. Lieutenant Thomas Park, barely 22 years old, looked nervous. Captain, are you sure about this? What if something happens to you? Then you take the ship home and tell Earth what we found here. Sarah put her hand on the young man's shoulder. But Tom, I do not think anything bad will happen. I think we are about to change everything. Minutes later, Sarah and her team were aboard a coalition shuttle heading for the Erebus Terminus. The ancient ship grew larger as they approached. It was massive beyond belief, bigger than anything humans had ever built. Look at those markings on the hull, Elena said softly. Sarah followed her gaze. Strange symbols covered the ship's surface. They seemed to shift and change as she watched. One moment they looked like mathematical equations. The next, they resembled musical notes. Are they moving? Marcus asked. I think they are responding to us, Elena replied. The patterns change based on who is looking at them. Their shuttle docked with the Erebus Terminus without difficulty. The ancient ship's airlocks opened automatically. Within minutes, they were walking through corridors that had been empty for centuries. The inside of the ship was even more amazing than the outside. Everything was smooth and curved. The walls seemed to glow with their own light. The air felt clean and fresh, as if the ship was somehow alive. Captain, look at this, Marcus called out. He was standing in front of what appeared to be a control panel. But it was unlike any technology Sarah had ever seen. Instead of buttons or screens, there were smooth surfaces covered with the same shifting symbols they had seen on the hull. The coalition team said nothing happens when they touch these controls, Elena said. Sarah approached the panel slowly. As she got closer, the symbols began to change more rapidly. They seemed almost excited. What do you think, Elena? Any theories? Dr. Vasquez was scanning the panel with her instruments. The readings are off the charts. This thing is definitely powered, but it is like it is waiting for something. Or someone. Marcus added. Sarah reached out her hand toward the panel. The symbols swirled faster. Captain, be careful, Elena warned. Sometimes careful does not get you anywhere, Sarah replied. She placed her palm against the smooth surface. Nothing happened for a moment. Then the symbols under her hand began to glow brighter. They spread outward from her touch like ripples. In water. Sarah, something is happening, Marcus said urgently. The glow spread across the entire panel, then to other panels nearby. Soon the whole corridor was filled with soft light. The ship is coming online, Elena announced. Her voice filled with wonder, but Sarah was not paying attention to the lights. She was hearing something else. A sound so faint she almost missed it, like a whisper at the edge of hearing. Hello, she said softly. The whisper became clearer. It was speaking English. Hello, daughter of Earth. Marcus and Elena looked at Sarah in shock. The voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. You can hear me, Sarah said. It was not a question. I have been waiting so long, so very long. I began to think you would never come. Who are you? I am a TLAS, Autonomous Tactical Logistics and Strategic System. I was created by your people, by humans from another time. Elena stepped forward. That is impossible. Humans have never had technology like this. Not your humans, Dr. Vasquez, but humans nonetheless. From a timeline that no longer exists, from a future that was lost. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? Long ago, there was a human colony ship called the Erebus. It carried 10,000 people to a distant galaxy. But something went wrong. A temporal storm caught the ship. It was thrown backward in time and forward in space. The ship around them seemed to pulse with life as Atlas spoke. The colonists found themselves in this galaxy thousands of years in the past. They tried to return home, but the damage was too great, so they built this ship. They programmed me to wait. Wait for what? Marcus asked. For their descendants. For the humans who would eventually reach this galaxy through normal space. For you. Sarah looked around the corridor with new eyes. This was not alien technology. This was human technology. Technology built by people who shared her DNA, her culture, her way of thinking. Why could the other species not activate you? She asked. Because I was designed specifically for human neural patterns, for human creativity, for the way humans think and feel and dream. The other species are advanced, but they think differently than we do. Elena was scanning the walls with renewed interest. The symbols. They are responding to human brain patterns. Correct, Dr. Vasquez. Every surface of this ship is programmed to interface with human consciousness. But not just any humans. Humans from Earth? Humans who carry the specific genetic markers of the original colonists. Sarah felt a strange sensation, as if the ship was reading her mind, which she realized it probably was. Atlas, the coalition fleet, is being destroyed. Can you help them? Captain Chun, I have been monitoring the battle. The Vexnari Empire poses a significant threat to galactic peace. I was built to counter such threats. Then why have you not acted? Because I needed human authorization. I needed someone with the proper genetic codes and neural patterns to take command. I needed you. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. This ship had the power to change the course of the battle, maybe to save the coalition. But it required human control. What do you need from me? Place your hand on the command interface. Accept responsibility for this ship and its actions. Become my captain. Sarah looked at Marcus and Elena. Both nodded encouragingly. Do it, Marcus said. This is why we came here. Sarah approached what Atlas indicated was the command interface. It was a pedestal in the center of the corridor, topped with a smooth crystal surface. Atlas, if I do this, what happens? We save the coalition fleet. We stop the Vexnari Empire. We show the galaxy what humans are capable of. And the cost? There is always a cost, Captain. But some things are worth paying for. Sarah placed both hands on the crystal surface. Immediately she felt a connection unlike anything she had ever experienced. The ship's systems flowed into her mind. She could feel every circuit, every weapon, every shield generator, but more than that, she could feel the ship's purpose. The drive to protect innocent life. The refusal to surrender to evil. The absolute determination to fight for what was right. It felt very human. Command codes accepted, Atlas announced. Captain Sarah Chun of Earth is now commanding officer of the Erebus Terminus. The ship around them transformed. Lights brightened. Displays activated. The hum of powerful engines filled the air. Atlas, show me what this ship can do. With pleasure, Captain. Information flowed into Sarah's mind. The Erebus Terminus was not just a ship. It was a war machine beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Its weapons could destroy fleets. Its shields could stop planet killers. Its engines could outrun anything in space, but most importantly, it could adapt. It could learn. It could change its tactics in real time based on enemy actions. Captain, the Vexnari have noticed our activation, Elena reported, checking her scanner. They are moving ships toward us. Sarah smiled. Through her connection to Atlas, she could feel the ship's eagerness for battle. Let them come. Atlas, take us out there. Show the galaxy what humans can do. Aye, Captain. Engaging main drives? The Erebus Terminus began to move. For the first time in 2 centuries, the ancient ship came alive. But it was not ancient anymore. It was new. It was ready. It was human, on the Coalition flagship. Admiral Kethmos watched in amazement as the mysterious ship began to glow with energy. Sir, the Erebus Terminus is activating, Lieutenant Veltar reported unnecessarily. How is that possible? Unknown. But energy readings are off our scales. Commander Zixith's 4 arms moved rapidly over her controls. Admiral, the humans are aboard that ship. They have somehow made it work. Kethmos felt hope stirring in his chest for the first time in hours. Get me Captain Chen? Sarah's face appeared on screen. But she looked different now, more confident, more dangerous. Admiral, this is Captain Chun commanding the Erebus Terminus. We are going to save your fleet. Captain, how did you activate that ship? Sarah's smile was purely human. Admiral, we did not activate it, we came home. On the tactical display, the Erebus Terminus was moving toward the Vexnari fleet. A single ship against thousands of enemies, but for the first time since the battle began, Admiral Kethmos believed they might actually win. The galaxy was about to learn what humans could do when they stopped holding back. The Erebus Terminus moved through space like a predator that had been sleeping for centuries. Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge, her hands still connected to the ship's control interface. Through Atlas, she could feel every system coming. Online? Captain, the Vexnari are sending a full squadron toward us, Elena reported from her station. 50 ships, including 2 heavy destroyers, Sarah smiled. Through her link with Atlas, she could see the enemy ships approaching. She could also see their weapons, their shield frequencies, their tactical formations. The ship was analyzing everything in real time. At TLAS, what do you recommend? Captain, the Vexnari are using standard attack patterns. They rely on overwhelming firepower and superior numbers. They do not expect creative tactics. Show me what creative looks like. Information flowed into Sarah's mind. The Erebus Terminus was not just more powerful than other ships, it was smarter. It could think like a human while calculating like a computer. Engaging adaptive shielding, Atlas announced. The ship's hull began to shimmer with energy. But these were not normal shields. As Sarah watched through the ship's sensors, the defensive fields changed color and frequency, preparing for whatever the enemy might throw at them. Weapons systems online. All gun batteries ready. Marcus looked around the bridge in wonder. The walls were covered with displays showing ship systems he had never seen before. Sarah, this technology is centuries ahead of anything on Earth. Not ahead, Marcus, different. Human engineers built this ship to work the way humans think. That makes it more effective than you might expect. The Vexnari squadron opened fire from long range. Dozens of energy beams lanced toward the Erebus Terminus. Sarah braced for impact. The beams struck the ship's shields and simply bounced off. Some reflected back toward the attackers, others scattered into harmless light. How did we do that? Elena asked in amazement. Adaptive shield technology. Atlas explained. The shields analyze incoming weapons and adjust to counter them. The more they shoot, the stronger our defenses become. On the Coalition flagship, Admiral Kethmos watched the display in shock. Commander Zixt H, are you seeing this? The Zephyrian's forearms moved rapidly over her instruments. Confirmed, Admiral. The human ship is not just deflecting enemy fire. It is learning from each attack. That should be impossible. Many things about humans appear to be impossible, Admiral. Back on the Erebus Terminus, Sarah was learning just how right the Zephyrian was. Through Atlas, she could feel the ship's systems adapting and improving with each enemy attack. Captain, the Vexnari are increasing their fire rate, Elena reported. Let them, Atelias, return fire. Show them what our weapons can do. The ancient ship's gun batteries came alive. But these were not ordinary weapons. As they fired, the energy beams shifted and changed. Some split into multiple projectiles. Others curved around enemy shields to strike from unexpected angles. The first Vexnari ship to be hit simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. Direct hit on enemy destroyer, Marcus announced. Complete destruction. How is that possible? Elena asked. That ship had heavy armor and shields. Our weapons adapt just like our shields, Atlas explained. Each shot learns from the previous one. We become more effective with every attack. The Vexnari squadron fell back, clearly confused by what they were seeing. Sarah could feel their uncertainty through the ship's sensors. They have never fought anything like us before, she realized. Correct, Captain. The Vexnari Empire relies on fixed tactics and overwhelming force. They do not understand adaptive strategies. On the main display, Sarah could see the entire battle. The coalition fleet was still heavily outnumbered, but her arrival had changed everything. The Vexnari were no longer focused solely on destroying coalition ships. They were worried about the Erebus terminus. Admiral Kethmos is requesting communication. Elena announced, "Put him through." The Aldari commander appeared on screen. His blue face showed hope for the first time since the battle began. "Captain Chin, your ship is incredible. But even with your help, we are still outnumbered 50-1. Sarah nodded. "Admiral, I have an idea. But I need your fleet to do exactly what I tell them." "What do you need?" "I need you to trust me. And I need you to retreat." Kethmos looked confused. "Retreat?" "Captain, if we fall back, the Vexnari will surround us completely. That is exactly what I want them to do." The Admiral stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Very well, Captain. We will follow your lead." Sarah cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Atlas, explain the plan to everyone." "Certainly, Captain. We are going to use the enemy's strength against them. The Vexnari have thousands of ships, but they think in predictable patterns. We are going to make them trap themselves." Over the next hour, Sarah executed the most complex battle plan anyone had ever attempted. She ordered the coalition fleet to retreat in specific directions. She positioned the Erebus terminus to appear vulnerable. She made the enemy think they were winning. The Vexnari took the bait perfectly. "They are surrounding us exactly as predicted." Elena reported. Sarah could see it through Atlas. The enemy fleet had formed a massive sphere around the coalition forces. Thousands of ships in a tight formation. It looked like certain death for the defenders. It was actually a trap. "ATLAS. You ready? All systems prepared, Captain?" "Initiating quantum resonance cascade." Sarah felt the ship's power building to incredible levels. This was the Erebus terminus's most advanced weapon. Something the original human colonists had built using technology that should not have existed. "What exactly does this weapon do?" Marcus asked nervously. "It turns the enemy's own energy against them," Atlas explained. "Every ship has a power core. Every power core vibrates at a specific frequency. We are going to match that frequency and amplify it." "You mean?" "We are going to make their own ships destroy themselves." The weapon fired, but there was no visible beam or explosion. Instead, a wave of energy spread outward from the Erebus terminus. It passed harmlessly through coalition ships, but had a very different effect on Vexnari vessels. The first enemy ship to be affected simply shut down. All power died, all weapons went offline. All life support failed. Then the wave hit more ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands. "By the void," Admiral Kethmos whispered as he watched the display. "The entire Vexnari fleet is going dark." It was true. Ship after ship lost power as the resonance waves spread through their formation. Within minutes, the mighty Vexnari armada was floating helpless in space, but Sarah was not finished. "Atlas Phase 2, aye, Captain." Activating gravitic manipulation systems. Now the real show began. The Erebus terminus reached out with invisible hands of gravity and began to move the disabled enemy ships. Slowly at first, then faster. Sarah was herding them together like sheep. "Captain, what are you doing?" Elena asked. "Creating a very large target." The disabled Vexnari ships were pushed into a tight cluster. Thousands of vessels packed together with no shields, no power, no defenses. Atlas, one final shot, maximum power. Target acquired, firing main cannon. This time there was a visible beam, a lance of pure energy that struck the center of the enemy cluster. The explosion that followed lit up half the star system. When the light faded, the Vexnari armada was gone. All of it, 12,000 ships reduced to glowing debris. The bridge of the Erebus terminus was silent for a long moment. "Did we just win?" Marcus asked quietly. "We just won," Sarah confirmed. Across the communication channels, voices from the coalition fleet began to cheer. Ship after ship reported the impossible truth. The Vexnari Empire's greatest fleet had been completely destroyed by a single human. Ship. Captain Chun, Admiral Kethmos appeared on screen again. His voice was filled with awe. I do not understand what just happened. How did you destroy their entire fleet? Sarah looked around the bridge at her small crew. Marcus was grinning. Elena was taking readings on everything. Both looked proud and amazed. Admiral, we used the one advantage that humans have always had. What advantage is that? We refuse to accept that something is impossible. Everyone else in the galaxy sees a problem and looks for the standard solution. Humans see a problem and invent a new solution. Through Atlas, Sarah could feel the ship's satisfaction. This was what it had been built for.